This has got to be a big one for you as someone that has been with the Bellator organization as long as you have. This feels like a big milestone within the promotion's history.
Yeah, it sure does, man. This is the epitome of what you want to fight for. You know, you want to get big fights. You want to fight for world titles. You want to win world titles. You want to fight at the biggest venues possible, and it doesn't get any bigger than Madison Square Garden, and it doesn't get any more meaningful than defending your belt. You know, so this is it's a milestone for Bellator. It's a milestone for myself. This is my 20th fight. You know, so I can't think of a better venue to hold my 20th anniversary fight. You know, so it's cool. It's a milestone for both the organization and myself, and I'm excited to go out there and compete.
Do you feel that now it's been a number of years since Scott Coker has come in? I mean, I'm sure you've heard from him of what his own vision was. Does now feel like that time where everything has kind of taken shape, and this is a big statement from Bellator, not just running Madison Square Garden, but going back to pay-per-view. I think it's the signal that it's gotten everything into alignment, and we're starting to really see that vision play itself out with this card.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's just a testament to Scott Coker's vision and Viacom, Spike TV, Kevin K, John Flusser, these guys coming in and having that foresight to be able to say Bellator is going to be an organization that we can build. You know, we need another big organization in the industry, and that's what they've done. And it's taken a couple of years, but now you see the growth and you see the big name signings and you see the free agents deciding that maybe, the UFC isn't where I want to be anymore. And maybe having sponsors is something that I do truly want, you know, and I can't tell you whether it's good, great, or horrible to fight for the UFC, but I can tell you that, it's been great for me to fight for Bellator, and they're as fair and honest as they can be as fight promoters. You know, it's a dog-eat-dog world. You know, what have you done for me lately type of business, and it's ruthless at times, but I'm extremely happy with my growth under the Bellator banner. I'm extremely happy with Bellator's growth, and it's cool to be a part of every big fight that they put on. You know, I always show up and I always perform and I always put on explosive performances, and I've been a part of some of the biggest fights that Bellator has had and probably ever will have. So it's been cool to be a part of it and see their growth and my growth as well, and it doesn't get any bigger than Madison Square Garden. So June 24th is going to be a phenomenal night for many, many reasons.
Did you ever get to compete, like wrestling-wise, at Madison Square Garden, or is this the first time you're ever going to be competing at this venue?
No, this is the first time I will have ever competed at Madison Square Garden. I've only really been there one or two other times. Twice actually. Once for a bull riding event, the PBR goes there, and then I went to a Knicks game a couple months ago whenever we had the press conference, and set cage or floor seats at the Knicks game. So it was like really cool. My wife and I got to do that. Spike hooked it up with some really cool floor seats, so it was awesome.
What was bull riding like at the Garden?
It was crazy. Well, it's crazy to see a venue like Madison Square Garden covered in dirt. You know, bull riding. They throw a bunch of plywood down over the floor. So they put the plywood down, they put the tarp down, and then they throw a bunch of dirt in. They bring a bunch of truckloads of dirt in, throw the dirt down, put in the chutes and all the pins, and put a bunch of livestock in there, a bunch of bulls, and bulls are pooping everywhere, and they got to clean it all up afterwards. But it's a good show, man. Bull riding is definitely one of my favorite sports to watch, and one of my favorite sports. So it was cool to be able to go there and hang out with all those guys and watch the riding.
You've had the experience of there's cards where a lot of the promotional obligations fall on your shoulders. You're expected to really take hold of that element of things. And then there's others where it is spread around. Do you have a preference when you're going into a card that this is one where it's not one that you have to simply shoulder yourself? You're certainly a big part of this card, but there are numerous attractions on this particular event on June 24th.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm completely honest, you always want more promotion. You know, I mean, I think my fight has really flown under the radar. Uh-huh. You know, I don't think they've really promoted my fight a ton. I'm not going to say they haven't done a great job. That's just the way that they're choosing to promote it. They're choosing to really promote the two main fights when really, you know, my fight, Lima's fight, Bader and Davis. Those are the big fights, the world title fights. But Bellator's got they have their strategy, I guess, if you will. They have what they're doing, and I've spent too much time and energy worrying about how they promote fights, and I told myself I wasn't going to do it anymore, and I'm not. So I've had a phenomenal training camp, not worried about the lack of promotion or the lack of build-up, if you will. I just hope a lot of people buy the pay-per-view, and I hope either way, I'm going out there. Whenever it's my time to shine, I'm going to go out there and knock somebody out, and that's kind of all I can control, and that's really what I control or what I focus on these days.
Is there a difference for you fighting on Spike versus a pay-per-view? Like if this pay-per-view reaches a certain level of buys, are you figured into that, or is this the same as if you were fighting on Spike?
I have a deal in place that I probably I won't get into, but
right.
Yeah, I have a deal in place, and so there's definitely some perks of pay-per-view, if you will. So it's good, man. I have a good contract, and I have phenomenal management, and we have a good understanding of each other's side, both Bellator side and our side. So we got a good situation going.
See, I have stated this many times in the past, so I'm not just saying this because you're on the line, but I always believe that if I were running Bellator and I had one guy that I had to build things around, I'm saying Michael Chandler all day long, and that's why I feel that for an event like this, I want my Michael Chandlers and Douglas Limas at the forefront here when the spotlight is the biggest, because there's definitely a lot of attraction to seeing Chael Sonnen and Vanderlei Silva, but in growing my core fan base, it's imperative that they be aware of the Michael Chandlers and the Douglas Limas because they're here for the long haul.
Yeah, well, I'd say you're a very smart man. I think I don't know, not that they aren't. I appreciate that, and I think I'm just one of those guys who always goes out there and kind of lays it on the line and gets after it. So go out there and explode and show what I can do.
Now, when I look at the last number of years for Michael Chandler, there's this pattern of you fighting in November, come back in June, fight November, June, and this is the third cycle where it's a November to June turnaround. Is this just a coincidence, or is there a thought process to this kind of turnaround time and ideal amount of fights you like to do in a year?
Yeah, it's not me. I mean, I would like to fight more.
Yeah.
And I've kind of expressed that and I've shown that, but I'm just believing that there's going to come a time when I look back and say, well, it was good that I only fought November and June, and I preserved my body and my brain and the structural integrity of my joints. So, I got an amazing life and an amazing opportunity to live a cool life that I get to live. And so I can't complain. I've not always been happy with 6-7 months in between fights, but it happens, and it's also part of being the champion. When
Right.
you're not the champion, you can get all kinds of fights, but when you're the champion, there's only so many contenders. And Bellator has done a good job of building guys and continuing to try to sign guys to fight me in the lightweight division. And good thing there's a welterweight division for me to go up to if I need to. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what the future holds.
Do you find that I mean, it's got to be I at least somewhat frustrating that you're taking on an opponent in Brent Primus who he's an undefeated fighter, dangerous opponent, but he's not an opponent that the general public is going to know all that much about. Do you think that somehow does prohibit the promotion of this fight, in your opinion, when it's people are tuning in, they know you're fighting, but they know less about your opponent?
Yeah, maybe that could be part of it. I think, I mean, at the end of the day, there's only so many minutes that you can promote a fight. There's only so much energy you can put towards promoting the fight, and there's only so much money, and so many platforms that you can use to promote a fight. And they're good at promoting fights. I don't mean by what I've said earlier that they're not doing a good job of promoting the fight. I'm happy. They could do zero promotion and I could care less. I got one job, and that job is to go out there and get in a fist fight, and it's definitely part of it, probably that Brent Primus is more of a less known guy. But then again, you could look at it on the other side and say, well, he's a less known guy, so let's give him some promotion and let's let the fans get to know who he is and hype this fight up. See if we can get some sound bites. And, that's what these interviews are for, I guess. And we're going to keep on moving forward, and we're only 10 days away, and it's I'm going to look back on this and say, man, it was a cool opportunity. It was a cool stage, a cool platform, and Bellator's done a good job.
Have you been in Florida this entire camp?
Yes. I've been down here the whole time. Been down here, it'll be 9 weeks total.
And with Henry Hooft now kind of operating his own system, tell us a bit about that environment for yourself and some of the people you've surrounded yourself leading into this fight.
Yeah, it's great, man. He's got a good kickboxing system. He's got his gym there, Combat Club, with Greg Jones Wrestling. Gilbert Burns is running the jiu-jitsu, and Henry's running the kickboxing, obviously. And I've been down here for the whole training camp with 4-time All-American wrestler from Minnesota, Logan Storley. So me and him have been mixing it up on the ground and the wrestling. And Henry's obviously been showing me all of the kickboxing stuff and distance and movement and all that kind of stuff, and sparring with Michael Johnson and the laundry list of UFC guys we have here. And Robbie Lawler's in there. Luke Rockhold was here a couple weeks ago. So it's been a good training camp, a plethora of guys, short guys, big guys, tall guys, bunch of different body types to be able to go with, because there's always about 20 guys in our sparring sessions, and most of them are around my weight. So I can go with the smaller than me but faster than me guys. I can go with the bigger guys who hit really hard and are dangerous, and I can go with all kinds of dynamic guys. So it's all about just kind of training with everybody and learning different movements and different tendencies. And there's nothing that Brent Primus that can throw at me June 24th that I haven't seen and haven't trained for. So I'm prepared. I'm 100% trained and ready to go.
Something I've been curious to ask you. The last mixed martial arts card at Madison Square Garden, it was Conor McGregor and Eddie Alvarez. I think there's few fighters out there that have the experience and knowledge of what Eddie Alvarez can do in a fight. And I remember being there covering it and thinking, I wonder what Michael Chandler is thinking of this version of Eddie Alvarez. You know what he can do. Was it almost, I'm sure you watched the fight, was it almost frustrating to watch knowing what Eddie is capable of?
Yeah, it was, man. It definitely was not his best performance. He's capable of so much more. But you got to give credit to Conor, man. Conor brings out the worst in people. He really does. He can take a phenomenal fighter and get in their head and make them go out there and perform like an amateur, and that's what he's good at. That's what he's done. So my hat's off to both of those guys. They're both phenomenal competitors. It would have been awesome to have seen Eddie go out there and fight like I know he can fight. And that was my prediction. I got a ton of flack for it from all the Conor nut huggers, because I picked Eddie to win, and I said Eddie was going to weather the early storm, and Eddie was going to kind of break him down a little bit, and Conor was going to give up like he did against Nate Diaz. But I stand corrected, and I was wrong. So, it was tough to see him see him go out like that, but I think he's going to bounce back, and who knows, maybe we'll see a Chandler versus Alvarez 3 down the line.
Is part of you curious to see how Brent Primus adjusts to this stage that he's on? It's not just a championship fight, but it's on pay-per-view. It's at Madison Square Garden. And, I mean, you've been in these big situations before. He has not. And I imagine every fighter is different in how they adapt to these scenarios, but he's in a very high-pressure situation here.
Yeah, he is. But, I think we're going to find out what he's made of. He could be the next big talent to come out and shock everybody and come out and just fight like like someone we've never seen before, or we could see him go out there and crumble, or we could just see a guy who fights his heart out, but he's just not enough he's not enough to beat me, So we're going to see who Brent Primus really is this fight. We're going to see what the hype is about. We're going to see what his undefeated record is going to add up to, when he steps into the cage with the baddest dude in the lightweight division. And I'm excited to be that guy. I'm excited to be that guy that the next generation gets to test themselves against, because I'm exactly where I need to be. I'm exactly as skilled as I need to be, and I'm the best that I've ever been, the most confident that I've ever been. So it's time to go out there, and when the lights turn on, it's time to close that cage door and get after it. So I can't be more excited.
Well, I completely I'm looking forward to this fight. I feel when Michael Chandler fights, it is must see, and it's going to be happening next Saturday night, June the 24th, on pay-per-view at 10 Eastern. It'll start on Spike at 8 Eastern. Total of 3 championship fights, including Michael Chandler and Brent Primus. And we look forward to whatever is next. Hopefully, Michael, we'll be talking about another fight for you before November, and you can break the pattern.
I'll tell you what, I appreciate it, man. That would be great. Hopefully before then, and I appreciate the kind words, John, and I will talk to you very soon.